The purpose of this video is for sending only. It's not for receiving. It's assumed that you've already memorized Morse code either by watching my video, Morse Code Memorization, or by some other means. First, we'll look at the key, then keying technique. Okay, I'm going to talk about the Morse code key. Here I have a sample of a key. There's all sorts of different kind of keys, but we're going to work with this one. The things I want to just show you about it, first of all, is all these knobs. We'll start with these two knobs. They hold tension on the center rail, and adjusting them, there's not much of adjustment. It doesn't happen a lot. It's not something always to worry about. But if you look at this in here, you can see that the contacts are not lined up. The top one is a little too far to the left. It's easy to center it. You have two jam nuts on the inside that hold them tight. Make sure they're loose, and then just turn the key out. I turn them at the same time because there's a spring in here. This thing is kind of springy and it's pushing up a little bit on that. It's pushing up on it a lot. And if you don't do it, it'll pop out. I don't know if I want to do this or not. We can just turn this one and it'll eventually pop out. And you don't really, it's not difficult to get back in, but it takes a little bit of work. There's a little pit inside this. Inside each, there's that little pit. See how close I can get it, and you can see it. And there's one on this side too. Put him in there, you've got to push him down. Slipped off of that until you get him into that little pit. And now he's back in. And then you just turn him evenly. You turn this one a few times and turn that one so he doesn't go flying out on you. Even this key, this is an older key. It has a spring here that pushes that up. Make sure you saw that. There's a spring right in there. And you can get a good idea of how far to turn it by just making the two ends of these bolts the same distance out from the edge, and it should be pretty well lined up. Looks great lined up. Looks like it's lined up. And then just turn the two jam nuts in to lock it so it doesn't come undone. As you're doing this, they could wiggle out. So now we'll go to this knob. This one here, it just adjusts the tension on that spring and the tension on this to make it real loose. It's not changing the gap in here. It's just changing how hard this spring pushes up on this. So if it's hard to push down, if you turn it down, there's another jam nut on there right here. And you turn it down, it gets harder to push. If you turn it up, it gets easier to push. It's not as noticeable with this type of key. That it doesn't do a lot on that spring. This one you can really make the change by turning this knob down, and you can get it where the key is really hard to push. I don't know why you'd want that, but it has and it can be harder or easier to push. So That's the difference between these on how that tension is, but the knob's the same. This has the spring. Right there. And this one has this little spring steel. So we'll go to this knob back here. It adjusts the gap in the contacts up here. So we'll loosen the jam nut up so we can turn it all the way, and you can make that gap really big so you have huge swing in there. I don't think you'd want that. Or you can actually turn it all the way down. We're turning it clockwise to go down until it touches. And now it won't do anything. You'll just have a keyed down effect. The way I adjust it, I push it all the way down and then do about 2 counterclockwise turns and see if I like that comfortable with my hand. If you're new to Morse code, you may have to adjust it several times to get it exactly the way you want it. It's got a fairly good gap in there. It'll focus, it might not focus. There, it did. It's a fairly good gap, but not real strong. And then, or not real big. And then just turn that jam nut down, and there you have it. And that's it. That's all there is to it. These two, we hook our wires in. If you hook them in this way, I use coax. You can use, this is a like audio coax, or you can use this ribbon wire from a old TV antenna, rabbit ears antenna. You put them in there, you raise this nut up, and there's a gap. Put the wire in the gap and crimp him down. Got to kind of hold him in because it sometimes squishes him out. You can tin that. I should tin that wire, that mesh, and then I can bend it in a little loop and put it on there. It holds better. And then the other side's the same way. Just open it up, turning it counterclockwise, and poke him in there. Keep crushing him down. Would be a good idea to tin that too with some solder. It's a tight fit. There we go. And then turn him clockwise to squish him in there. And he's in there. And we should have a side tone. Okay. Now our problem here is it was stuck down. If this wire, this bare wire, if it touches any part of the key, which it's doing, it will be a key down condition if it touches any part of this bar in here. I gotta get it in there. I have a wire length issue here. Let's move everything up here. There, that's better. So it keeps touching it. So what you need to do is flip it around. So the bare wire is on that spring steel. Let's see, let's make sure I'm in here. That bare wire, I'm going to back out of here. I don't want to go off. So that bare wire is on the spring steel part. And then it won't short out. And then put this wire, and I really do recommend you tin those. Like so. Now, if I take this, I touch that with my thumb, and touch him to here, he won't short out. He'll only key when you push that. And that's it. It's about all there is to know about that. And then of course this knob is for your fingers. Textbook says 2 fingers up here and then the thumb down on this side on top. So, but you'll learn with your own comfort, your own way, how you want to do that. You might sometimes, if I use my other hand, if I use my left hand, I'll just rest 2 fingers on it and the thumb is out. Here, and I do it like that. Or I'll do it like this. Then there's these little holes in here on the 4 corners. You can put rubber feet on it so it doesn't slide around. That way you don't have to hold it and do that with it. So that is about all there is to it. This other key, this other key is basically the same. You've got your jam nuts and on the outside, and you turn that to center this. This does the height, the size of the gap, the amount of swing, and then these are for the same as here to hook your wires to. This is an old, I think it's a Radio Shack. And this is a J47. And there's all sorts of different keys, but they're basically the same. So that gets you introduced to this. One thing I did want to cover too in this is sometimes the contacts will get an oxidization film on them, and it'll miss. You'll key and you hit a dot and a dit and it won't dit it. Or if it's like on a practice oscillator, this is hooked up to my radio, but the Vox is off, so I'm not transmitting. It will kind of change the pitch in some practice oscillators. If it seems like it's not making good contact or something, you can take a sheet of paper. I don't know if they still make paperless kind of tractor feet in their printers anymore, but take an old sheet of paper and try and stuff it in there. If it won't fit, just raise it up. so you can get it in there easier. And then key it down and pull it. Don't push too hard because you'll rip the paper. You want it to slip out. And you'll get this mark on it. It's not too bad. Sometimes it's really dark when you really start having trouble. Then just do it a couple of times. Until it comes out fairly clean. It'll always leave a little bit of a mark, but it cleans it up. I don't know if I showed that good. I'm looking around the camera. Yeah, there. And it gets it on both sides. This side isn't too bad. So you just do it until it lightens up and won't get any lighter. Sometimes it'll completely go away. A lot of times just have a little bit anyway, no matter how much you do it. 3 or 4 times will clear it up. In the old days on older radios, you used to have to put a capacitor across the two. I've never had to do that because you get kind of, your signal on the other end will be chirpy because your keying is too harsh. But I think the new radios don't have that problem. Only the old radios did. And you'll have more of a square wave. If you put a capacitor on there, it makes it smooths off the shoulders on the square wave. Let's see if I have a drawing here, if I can draw it. Probably an exaggeration, but you'll get a keying envelope if you saw it on an O-scope. This is without the capacitor. This is with the capacitor. This is exaggerated, but it smooths out the top because a square wave over there, over the air, makes it sound chirpy. You'll have it chirp chirp, but on your Morse code. But like I say, the new radios, I don't think you have that problem. So that's the basics of your key. Okay, these are, if you want to call them rules, they're actually timing guidelines for Morse code. We'll start with number 1. You have a dot and a dash, but we're not going to call them dots and dashes. We're going to call them dits and dahs. It sounds kind of silly, but it sounds more like the sound of Morse code than a dot and a dash. So in the word okay, you have da, 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 da. It sounds better. It sounds more like code, Morse code, if you go, rather than going dash, 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 dot, dash. Da, 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 da. Sounds more like Morse code. Our timing on Morse code, number 2, our timing, you have a dit is the unit of time. That's the basic unit of time is 1 dit. Whether you make the dit a half a second or a fraction of a half a second or a full second long, that's going to be the rest of the timing for how you do your code. A dash is 3 units of time, so it's 3 dits. 3 times the length of a dit. That's your da. The space between dits and dahs in a single letter, so you take the letter A, is a dit. So A is a dit, dah, so you're going to have a dit, and then you're going to have a space that's a dit long, and then you're going to have a dah, which is 3 dits long. You could call the space a silent dit. So it's going to be dit, a silent dit, and then your dah. Then number 4, you're going to have a space between your letters in a word, such as the word as. It has an A, so it's a dit, dah, and then you're going to have your dits, dit, dit, dit. Your space between them is 3 dits. It fits in here, 3 dits. So you have dit, silent, dah, 3 silents, dit, dit, dit. Now, number 5, you're going to have your space between words is 7 dits. So that'll be here in the two words as him. You would have dit, da, have dit, da, 3 dits between this next letter, which is an S, dit, dit, dit. And then you're going to have a space between your words as 7 dits right here. And then your H is 4 dits, dit, 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 dit. And then your space between your letters over here in the HIM, you're going to have dit, 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 da, da. Our A as in as is going to be, our as him is going to be just remember to make your spaces between your words 7 dits long. Space between your letters 3 dits long. Okay, this rule number 5, which is kind of my rule, it's a pet peeve of mine. If sometimes ham operators will have a letter at the end of a sentence that ends with a da. Let's take him for answer. Say the sentence ends in a him, with the word him. They'll drag out this last M over here to a real long, because they thinks it adds finesse. And it can be confusing to someone that's new listening to this, and they have this long M, and then all of a sudden they start another word to their next sentence, and it goes on. They're trying to figure out what that last letter was because of this long da. So I think you should not get in the habit of doing it. The only time it's really useful is if it's the end of your turn, the end of your round. When you're communicating, they will send a K, which a K, but they'll drag that out. They'll end it, and I mean to hand it back to you, they'll go, and that's okay, because it kind of makes you alert, oh, he's handing it back to me, without thinking, oh, it's a K, what does a K mean? They'll do that, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And then at the end of the QSO, there's an SK, meaning I'm signing off, I'm getting off the air, and they'll drag out that K also. And the SK is sent as one unit, so they'll go, and that's okay too. It alerts you that, oh, it's the end. So with that, it's okay to do that. Now, some of you may have heard of Farnsworth. What about Farnsworth's contribution to Morse code? He has this in the red. The old method of doing Morse code, where the time is the length of measured here is your dit. A long dit, if you were going to send, this is as him, again, as him, what the hell was that? That is so slow. Someone that is learning code, it might be comfortable, but once you get up to like 10 words a minute, you won't be able to read that. It was difficult for me to even send it. So Farnsworth said, even when you're into learning Morse code for the first time, send it this way. Farnsworth says, send your letters and words at a higher speed. Let's say 10 to 18 words per minute, but then space your words farther apart. This allows your mind to get used to the higher speed of the letters and the words and the rhythm, while giving the brain time to decode the code while you're still new at this. Getting used to the faster letters and words earlier on in your training will make raising your overall speed easier and faster. You'll be sending and receiving code at higher speeds sooner than later. So, if I was going to do Farnsworth, it would sound like this. See, I didn't drag out my dits long like these ones. And it's easier for your mind to time it. I'm not a high-speed code person. I did pass a lot years ago. I passed the 20-word requirement when they still had code required in ham radio. I did do that, but since then I've kind of slowed down. I'm about 17 to 18 words per minute. And if I heard someone sending this, that's about, I don't know, that might be 3 or 4, maybe 5 words per minute. I wouldn't be able to copy it. If he sent it like this, I would. And if I sent it like this and he trained this way, he would. So that's your Farnsworth contribution to timing. It goes a little bit against this, but not really if you're just stretching these out more. So that's your timing lesson. And that's the heart of this. The rest of it is just practicing it. I'm going to show you how you can monitor yourself by getting a code reader and sending your code into the code reader. Code readers, with my experience, are notoriously terrible at decoding code unless it's sent really well. And that's the key. If you can send your code so a code reader, an automatic code reader, can read it, you're doing good. It gives you a good idea how well you've done. Now, if you want to test yourself to see how well you're learning your code and how well you actually send it, you can get some decoding apps. Find the best one that works for you and then send your code through it and see how it reads it. These apps are notorious for being very picky on how you send. That's why they're a good test. If you can get it to come out the way it's supposed to come out, and it copies it the way it's supposed to look, then you know you got a pretty good fist. If it comes out really bad, you know you got a bad fist. Actually, if it can read it the way you think you're sending it, and you think you're sending it right, and it reads it right, you got an excellent fist. We'll start with this one. This one I've had for a while. I've never really liked it. I was experimenting with it a little more for this video, and it's actually about the best one I recommend this one. It's about the best one I've come across. So the icon in the store where I picked it up it looks like this. It's called Morse Decoder. It is free. It does not have commercials in it or ads in it, and it has a few features in it. You can go in here. You go into settings, and I've found if I put the graph on, that's that bottom thing with that was scrolling by. It has a waterfall display. I'll show you that, but it has this squelch to adjust the sensitivity. I had that on. I went and turned it off. I had it on low, and I turned it off, and it works a lot better. I used to have it on low, and I just couldn't get it to do well. Screen lock, I left that. That just keeps your phone from shutting off when your phone sometimes shuts the screen off. This leaves it on. I shut it off so it doesn't consume a lot of battery power. And then I show the graph. I don't have a Bluetooth, and that says it's experimental anyway. So you go in there and shut the squelch off. That's the important part that I wanted to show you put the squelch on, shut it off at first. You can experiment with it later. This also will show the speed you're sending. I use lock speed. I was using it a little while ago and I couldn't get it to work. It was on unlock. If you put it on lock speed, it seems to work better, and it'll give you your speed when you're sending it. I sent some stuff with Morse Code keyer and bencher paddles. I didn't use a straight. I used a straight key in it. Actually, you have to admit I wasn't doing that well, so I broke out my bencher paddles. I may make a video sometime on paddles. There's nothing real complicated about them. They're just more comfortable and your fist doesn't get tired. So I used that and sent it so it would come out fairly decent. We'll see how well it came out. So we'll clear the text. So that was the last app. The one that I just showed you has the little Morse code key, and it's a Morse decoder. And that's the little icon you can look on App Store, whichever one you use. The next one we'll do looks like a walrus. This one, we'll see. He doesn't have all of the little settings and stuff. Let's get that adjusted. Okay, he doesn't have all of the adjustments settings. It's just this. And you can copy your text, you can share it, and you can clear it. And that's it. And he's set very sensitive. We'll see how he does. So that's how that one came up with, sending it twice. And to tell you the truth, I think this one, the other one did it more perfect, but this one I think did it more accurate to the way I sent it, because I did have large gaps. You can see where like Morse was sent, except for the gap in the E and then the coding, Morse code is all spread out. And it was consistent. Everything was consistent that it was receiving. So in both times I sent it, it came up with the same. So it's actually not a bad app. And it, like I say, it might be a little bit more accurate than the first one. I like the first one better because it has those functions where it tells you the speed you're sending at, roughly, and it has a few other settings. This one has none. Has no little gear or anything. And this was called, and this one also says Morse Code Reader. Oh, the other one was Morse Decoder. This one was Morse Code Reader. Now I wonder if that's in the picture. Yes, it is. Hopefully it's readable. Right here. Now, let's go to this other one. Can't do that. This other one has a whole lot of stuff. Handling, training, player, decoder, table, I guess that'll show you the characters, and then you can share it. I want to look at this. Table, yeah, okay, it does. Oh, it does have, I didn't know that till this time. It has a Farnsworth, and then you can go 20, and then it has tone, so you can you change the tone? Oh, I don't know. Oh yes, you can. You slide the little slider. Cute. And then Farnsworth, you set it at the speed you think you're going. That other one said I was doing 13. Let's see how this guy does. There, I've used this, but I didn't use this part. I don't know what frequency we were on. The other one kind of told us. Let me go back. Use this one. The frequency, those are 5. This says 500. That says 750. So it's somewhere around 600 or thereabouts. 600, 625. Does it show it anywhere? I don't see it anywhere. But that's about where it's at, I'm going to say. So if we set this one, maybe this one will do good if I set the tone to about, that's 450, there's 600, we'll go 600. And we got this set to about 20, let's see if we can go about 13. Dude, oh, he even sent you a sample. Oh no. He lets you listen to it. Oh, maybe I set it at 600. Let's see. Okay, so let's go to the decoder. Push start. Allow it this time. Here we go. I do know one thing about it. And that's why I don't like this app, because it does this. And it was rather doing well. was rather reading well until it decided to throw an ad at you. So, let's see if we can get out of here or not. You do need to get Pro and pay some money so you don't end up in the middle of a commercial in the middle of your decoding. Oh, and I gotta wait, let's see, if you want unlimited, you gotta wait 2 minutes. So get Pro version to use unlimited decoder without any ads, or wait 2 minutes to use it again. So you get to use it every 2 minutes. So I don't know how much it cost or anything like that, but that is a drawback to it. But it looked like it was doing rather well. It was reading similar to the first one, and it has a lot more little perks, but it's not free. It is free if you don't mind in the middle of your demonstration to the world that it crashes into a commercial there. Oops, let's see. That, by the way, I did actually accidentally bring that up, but that, by the way, is a great place for resources, ARRL, for learning resources and other stuff. So since I brought it in by accident, I might as well give them a plug. I think the one I like best is this one, the one with the little key code called the Morse decoder, out of these three. Now, a place called MFJ, they make decoders. I bought one of theirs a long time ago. I never had luck with it, but I'm sure they've improved. So if you don't want to use a phone app, you want to buy one, this is MFJ's. Like I said, I never had luck with it. Maybe I have some learning curve to use it, and they may have improved. So you may want to look at MFJ for a decoder if you don't want the app. If you do use an app to check yourself on your code, don't be too critical if it doesn't come out perfect. If it comes out close, if it comes out, even this isn't bad. Like I say, this may have been more accurate to the way I was sending it. If you noticed on this one, I set that Farnsworth thing to about 13 words, and it was going along real well. Neither one of these have a Farnsworth setting, and I talked in the video about using Farnsworth. So if you don't, I don't know how much the Pro cost. It may be worth investing in that if you want a good one. So I'll leave that to you. Again, don't be too critical on yourself if it doesn't come out perfect. Another thing I wanted to mention, you'll notice that when this one first started, it was all not even close, and then later it came out correct. Sometimes these need a few characters to set themselves up to decode. Back in the days of testing, when you had to take a code test, the FCC always put in a series of like 4 V's. I do that sometimes in your 4 V's and then start the text, and that allows the code reader to set itself to what you're doing. It also gives you a chance to get your fist going before you just go right into the text. So you might do that too. I probably should have done that on this, sent 4 V's before I sent their R, and then went from there. So I think that's it for the video. I'm going to put out another video someday. I work full-time, 10 to 12 hours a day, so I can't just sit here and make videos all day. I wish I could. So maybe in a few weeks after this one gets posted, I want my next one to be on receiving and decoding code. And there's an app that I use for that. There's some tricks in it. It shouldn't be as involved as this one. You'll have to check it out when I make it. I can't really say exactly what's going to be in it until the final product. So I think that's it for this, and I hope you like it. If you do like it, if you want to subscribe, I would appreciate it. And I would also appreciate comments, positive or negative. So that's the end.